Welcome to the Scenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. In our incredibly fast-paced world, it often feels like everyone's searching for natural ways to feel a bit better, especially when it comes to those really universal issues like getting a good night's sleep, a truly restorative one, or maybe just calming that constant hum of anxiety. As more and more of us are looking into alternatives, beyond conventional pharmaceuticals, herbal solutions have really stepped into the spotlight. So today we're doing a deep dive into one of the most well-known remedies out there, valerian root. Our mission really is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from the sources we've looked at for you, exploring its pretty fascinating history, how it might actually work, and, well, if it truly lives up to all the hype.
Yeah, it's quite striking, isn't it, how often we find ourselves turning back to, ancient wisdom to deal with very modern problems. And valerian root is such a prime example of that kind of enduring appeal. We're going to try and move beyond just the surface level stuff today and really look at what the science is saying. And that means acknowledging both its strengths and, importantly, its limitations. Understanding the how and the why it might work is, I think, crucial here. And we'll also touch on some of its unique mechanisms, especially when you compare it to more conventional medicines, hopefully giving you a much clearer, more nuanced picture of its place in, contemporary wellness.
What's really remarkable, I think, is that valerian root isn't some new fad. It's not like it just popped up recently. Its use actually goes way, way back. We're talking ancient Greece and Rome. For centuries, traditional healers knew about it. They used this pretty humble herb to address quite a few conditions. Things like insomnia, general nervous tension, restlessness, that sort of thing. Fast forward to today, and you see it having this massive resurgence. It's huge in the modern wellness and herbal medicine world. People are turning to it for, everything from just general stress relief to maybe helping reduce anxiety, and of course that big one, improving sleep quality.
Right. And just to give a bit more context, valerian root comes from the flowering plant Valeriana officinalis. It's native to regions of Europe and also parts of Asia. And as the name suggests, it's the plant's root, the robust root system that's really prized. Farmers carefully harvest it, then it's dried and processed into all the different forms you might see on the shelf. So capsules, tinctures, teas, powdered extracts. Now, one thing that often comes up with valerian root, and you might know this if you've ever encountered it, is its very strong, very earthy odor and distinct taste. It's almost like a badge of honor for this ancient remedy, isn't it? This is actually why a lot of people prefer to take it in capsule or maybe in extract form, just to bypass that pretty potent experience.
Potent is definitely one word for it, yeah. But it makes you wonder, like you said, why would something with such a distinct kind of musky taste remain popular for literally centuries, especially when there are probably other, maybe tastier herbal options out there?
Exactly. It really speaks to a perceived benefit, doesn't it? Something that has genuinely stood the test of time, maybe an intuitive understanding by people way back when.
That's a really great point. Its long history is definitely compelling. But the real question for us today in the modern age is, does the science actually back up these ancient claims? So let's try and unravel how valerian might actually be working its subtle magic inside our bodies. Part of valerian root's appeal is that it potentially helps reduce anxiety and promote relaxation, but maybe without those strong sedative effects or the risk of dependency that can come with certain conventional drugs. Thinking of things like benzodiazepines, that class includes meds like Xanax or Valium. So what we found is that valerian seems to interact kind of uniquely by influencing GABA levels in the brain. You can think of GABA as your brain's natural dimmer switch, right? It helps quiet down overactivity and calm the nervous system. And the real insight here, I think, is that valerian seems to offer this different path to relaxation. It's not that heavy sedative knockout effect you sometimes get with pharmaceuticals. It might allow for a calmer mind while you can still function, which is a real potential game changer for managing daily stress or just winding down gradually.
Yeah, and the real intrigue, I think, lies in the sort of nuanced scientific journey to understand this ancient remedy properly. Early studies have, in fact, suggested that valerian root might help reduce symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, and it might also offer some relief for social anxiety and maybe mild nervous tension. There's even some mention of potential synergy, meaning it might work better when used alongside other calming herbs like, say, lemon balm or passion flower. That's an interesting area itself, these herbal combinations. However, and this is really crucial, we have to acknowledge that the current scientific evidence is, it's mixed. While some smaller clinical trials have shown benefits, Others have found no significant effect. It's not clear-cut.
Okay, that's a really critical point. When you say mixed evidence, what does that actually mean for our listeners? For someone trying to make an informed decision, like, should we approach it with a lot of skepticism, or is there maybe a way to interpret that data more constructively for personal health choices?
That's an excellent question and really practical. This inconsistency isn't just, a scientific puzzle. It's a crucial insight for anyone considering valerian. It basically means that the valerian root you pick up off the shelf isn't always the same thing. This variability often comes down to differences in dosage used in studies, the specific quality of the extract, how it was made, what part of the root, etc., and even the overall design of the studies themselves, how they were set up. So zooming out, what this really highlights is the challenge, the inherent difficulty in rigorously studying natural remedies. And it's why you constantly hear calls for more rigorous large-scale research to definitively confirm if it works, how well, and to figure out the best dosing. So for you, the listener, mixed evidence means recognizing that consistency of results just isn't guaranteed across all products or even for every individual. But despite these scientific sort of caveats, its long history of use and generally good safety record mean it does remain a popular choice for many people, especially those managing mild anxiety, maybe occasional stress, or people having trouble sleeping who prefer a natural approach.
Right. So while its main reputation is for sleep and anxiety, our sources show valerian root has actually caught the eye of researchers for some other health concerns too, potentially extending its reach. For instance, there's some early evidence suggesting it might offer benefits for menopausal symptoms, things like hot flashes. Perhaps, through its general calming effect on the nervous system, which can sometimes make those physical symptoms feel worse. It's also been looked at for premenstrual syndrome, PMS, where maybe its anxiety-reducing properties could potentially ease some of that tension that comes along with it. And even restless leg syndrome, or RLS, has seen some investigation. But while some initial studies have shown some positive results in these areas, it's really important to stress that these findings are definitely not final. Like with many natural remedies, researchers need to conduct more robust studies, bigger ones, better ones, to truly confirm if valerian works for these specific things. But this brings up that absolutely critical question that always follows any remedy. Natural or not, is it actually safe? So let's get into its safety profile.
Okay, moving on to safety. One of the most appealing aspects of valerian root is that, generally speaking, it's well tolerated. Most users seem to experience only minor side effects, if they experience any at all. The commonly reported ones include things like maybe mild gastrointestinal upset, sometimes vivid dreams, which can be quite memorable, actually, and headaches. Critically, there don't seem to be major safety concerns, specifically with short-term use, which does make it an appealing choice for people looking for a natural remedy for, say, occasional sleep issues or maybe mild anxiety. However, it does make you pause and think. Like any supplement, really, you should always proceed with caution. Talking with a healthcare provider is absolutely essential, especially if you're already taking other medications or if you're pregnant, nursing, or managing any chronic health conditions.
That's excellent advice, really, especially the part about consulting a healthcare provider. But, sometimes for someone who's really committed to using natural remedies, that can feel like an extra step, maybe an extra hurdle. From your perspective, what's the single most crucial piece of information they must share with their doctor when they're considering valerian?
That's a very practical question. Beyond their existing health conditions, which are obviously important, the most crucial piece of information to share is any other medications or supplements they're currently taking. Full stop. Valerian root could potentially interact with other things that have sedative effects, other sleep aids, some antidepressants, even alcohol. It could amplify their effects. So a really comprehensive list of everything, absolutely everything going into your body is vital for your doctor to assess those potential interactions. And it's not just about the herb itself. Quality really, really matters here too. Always try to look for valerian products that are standardized and ideally third-party tested. This helps ensure you're getting consistent potency and purity in what you're taking, which actually ties right back to our earlier discussion about why the evidence might be mixed. Quality varies.
That's incredibly important. Yeah, consistency is key. And speaking of standardization and efficacy, let's talk a bit more about the practical side of things, like actually incorporating valerian root into your wellness routine. Standardization, as you mentioned, is truly a key consideration. It helps ensure that each product you buy has a consistent amount of those active compounds, like valerianic acid, which many researchers now think is maybe the primary compound responsible for valerian's signature calming effects. Understanding this means you're looking for a consistent dose of what actually does the work within the plant. Now, when it comes to typical dosages, our sources generally suggest taking somewhere between 300 to 600 milligrams.
usually about 30 minutes to maybe 2 hours before you plan to go to bed. But here's the thing that complicates it a bit. Individual needs can vary quite a lot. And unfortunately, detailed guidance on what the optimal dosage is for you can sometimes be lacking in the current research. This really underscores why starting with a lower dose and going slow is often the recommended approach.
Right. And a key takeaway from all this, I think, is how it compares to conventional therapies for sleep and anxiety. Valerian root really positions itself as a gentler, maybe more gradual, natural option compared to pharmaceuticals like benzodiazepines or those non-benzodiazepine sleep aids, the Z drugs. Now, those conventional medications can certainly offer quick relief, no doubt about it, but they also come with that potential for dependency and often more pronounced side effects, things like excessive drowsiness the next day, impaired coordination, just feeling groggy. Valerian root aims to offer a natural solution with potentially fewer and milder side effects. So it appeals to those looking for a different, perhaps more subtle approach to managing these common issues. So for safe and effective use, there are definitely a few practical tips to keep front of mind. Always be aware of the possible side effects we mentioned. Understand the quality standards. Buying from reputable brands that follow good manufacturing practices is always a good idea. Be particularly cautious, really cautious, about potential interactions with other herbs or medicines you might be taking. And we simply cannot stress this enough. Please consult with your healthcare provider if you are pregnant, nursing, or already taking other medications. It's just crucial. As a starting strategy, like you said, it's often best to begin with the lower dose and then gradually increase it if you feel you need to, always watching closely for any adverse reactions. For you, the listener, this really means having the right information to make a truly informed choice, understanding the potential trade-offs, and knowing how to proceed responsibly with your own health journey.
Okay, so what does this all mean when we kind of bring it all together? Our deep dive into valerian root has really covered quite a bit of ground. We went from its ancient lineage and traditional uses all the way through its potential calming effect, likely through that clever interaction with GABA in the brain. We've explored the mixed but still promising scientific evidence and, importantly, tried to understand why that evidence might be mixed. And we've discussed its generally good safety profile, which makes it a compelling natural alternative for many. It really offers a fascinating glimpse into the world of herbal medicine, doesn't it? Balancing centuries of historical use with that ongoing, rigorous scientific investigation.
Exactly. And zooming out, sort of looking at the bigger picture, what this really highlights is that in our ongoing quest for wellness, understanding both the potential benefits and the inherent limitations of natural remedies is absolutely key. It really encourages all of us, I think, to be discerning consumers of information, to always ask for the evidence, and to recognize that not all claims are equally supported by robust science. And this raises perhaps an important question for you to ponder. How do you personally weigh that allure, that appeal of a natural solution, often rooted in centuries of use, against the modern demand for rigorous scientific validation, especially when it comes down to making decisions about your own health and your own well-being?
That's a really powerful question for all of us to think about. We really hope this deep dive has given you a helpful shortcut to being well-informed about valerian root. And maybe it sparked a little more curiosity about the fascinating and sometimes complex world of natural remedies. Until next time, keep digging, keep learning, and keep thriving.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scenario Podcast. Don't forget to visit scenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.